Game time decisions for Ohio State against Indiana. These are the vital factors of the game that we think are going to play out in this Big Ten East matchup. Steven, what is your game time decision?
Yeah, so partially because the defense is better and so they haven't needed to. CJ Stroud is very behind where he was through 9 games last year in terms of just overall usage of him and his arm. Last year, through 9 games, he was 214 of 311 for 3,036 yards and 30 touchdowns. That included 5 games with at least 30 passes and 6 games of at least 300 yards. This year, he's 169 of 249 for 2,453 yards and 29 touchdowns. And that's only 2 games with at least 30 passes and at least in only 4 games with at least 300 yards. And I mean, they're blowing everybody out, so you don't need to be throwing the ball in the second half. But also, what helps with that is, especially the yardage part of it, is what we saw last week. Is the wind was so bad that even if he threw 26 times, he only completed 10 of them for 76 yards. He needs numbers. We said it all along that Stroud's Heisman case was always going to be the numbers, and right now it's starting to fall apart a little bit because of circumstance. So I am wondering, one, does he get over the 30 pass mark just because Day wants him to get his stats? But more importantly, what does it look like the first 3 series? I want to know what the first 25 play breakdown is. Is it going to be, as even as possible because they're trying to stay balanced? Or maybe we see a situation where 18 of the first 25 plays they call on Saturday are pass plays because they're trying to get CJ back into a rhythm. They're trying to get these receivers back into a rhythm, but also CJ just needs his numbers. When you look at when you compare him to other guys like North Carolina's Drake May and Tennessee's Hendon Hooker and even USC's Caleb Williams, those guys have the numbers. And so he's missing that part of the Heisman case right now, ironically enough.
So even with the worst statistical game of his career last week, he actually went back up in the Heisman
Yeah.
betting market. So I hear what you're saying though, that that was also because Hendon Hooker lost. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't assume that's going to happen every week, and you don't want to maybe get into an up and down on that. And a big game would probably help him there. I'm actually going to talk about a different aspect of the Ohio State offense, though. Mayan Williams, Trevion Henderson, going back now several weeks, really go back to the Wisconsin game, and the Iowa game they both played also. But the Iowa game is the exception since over the past 5 games where somebody's been out. Either Trevion Henderson had that late scratch against Rutgers, or Mayan Williams was unavailable. And last week, Trevion Henderson was unavailable. Mayan Williams got hurt after 2 carries against Penn State. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just something going on. And I think they want those guys. The whole premise of this shared thing that they've been running out there was to have everybody healthy at the end of the season. And we're almost at the end of the season, but we're not quite there yet. I don't know what Trevion Henderson's status is going to be for Saturday. I would expect what we didn't see last week, which is a very heavy dose of Chip Trayanum and Dallin Hayden. I think that happens regardless of whether both of these starters are available or not. You would think Mayan Williams is probably available. He played a full complement of snaps last week. We don't know, like I said, if Trevion Henderson's back this week. But even if both are back, I think this game could get out of hand early because Indiana's really bad, and Ohio State is probably looking for an opportunity to make a statement a little bit, and are just better than them by that extent. And I think this is a week where you give Chip Trayanum an extended look at running back because he's had 1 carry, and you've moved him over to running back full time for a reason now. He is part of your depth at running back now. It's not a novelty thing. He is a running back now. And Dallin Hayden, it's been a while since he had some good run. I think you want those guys both for this stretch run in case something goes wrong. Because again, you're 1 game away. When one of these starting running backs, the co-starters, is always missing a game, then you're one twist, turn, whatever, away from both those guys being out, and now you're relying on Chip Trayanum or Dallin Hayden. And you don't wish that on anybody. You don't like to speak it into existence. It's just the reality that it's been a position where they've had trouble keeping both those guys healthy. So I think you're going to see a lot of Chip Trayanum and a lot of Dallin Hayden. Probably Chip Trayanum coming in before Dallin Hayden is what I would expect in this next
That's a
game
bold prediction.
for Ohio State. Well, that's how they warmed up
It's fair.
before the last game. So
It's fair.
we'll see if that holds true. That is our I'm sorry. Those are our game time decisions. Come back to cleveland.com during the game, before and after, cleveland.com/OSU for full coverage, and get the text 614 350-3315 for all the intel that we're seeing on the field before, during, and after the game from Buckeye Talk.